Welcome to part 2 of Operation Market Garden Revisited here on Let's Play Battlefield 1942. Judging from the sound effect of the tank cannon fire, that tank is still lurking around here holding the flag neutral, so I can't capture it. He's probably right over by the entrance because I can even hear the machine gun fire and the sound of the treads rolling around. At any moment here, yeah, there we go. Actually, I almost got killed there. I got a little bit disorganized and was moving around. You should, if you're holding it neutral, trying to protect against infantry, you should be watching those stairs very closely and shooting them as they go up the stairs. If you're an engineer, by the way, you can use explosive packs to detonate the people immediately after they climb up the stairs. Unfortunately, the radar shows that there is a friendly tank rolling around, so hopefully, well, the guy named DeMarco just got a kill with the Tiger, so presumably that was the enemy tank. That's one thing about the kill messages that are actually useful, is that when you don't have your eyes on the situation, you can watch the kill messages and note the name tags. You'll usually be able to see your friendly name tags even through walls, and you can kind of judge who's winning or losing when the flag is in doubt. Typically speaking, I don't like to hold the flag neutral as I did there earlier, just waiting around hoping for the enemy to leave. On the other hand, it was really the only flag that we had a chance at the moment, and our side was doing so poorly, and the one thing that really decided it for me is the fact that it's the church flag on Operation Market Garden. If there's any flag where holding it neutral as an infantry against the tanks makes any sense, it's that one. Most flags really aren't worth the trouble. This map has a special spawn point for the American side. It's the parachute drop. It's an uncapturable. It's not centered around a flag. It's just a point in space up there. And when you spawn there as an American, you automatically parachute and start drifting your way downward. And it's most often used when the Americans have no other control points to spawn at. Their main base, by the way, is the airstrip that's much further back. But if they're infantry and they're impatient, they usually like to spawn at the parachute drop. And I've just been shot by an enemy sniper, interestingly enough. It just shows you that you've always got to stay on the move, even if you have no idea there's a sniper around. Watching the radar, German side struggling, trying as hard as it can, but it's got no spawn point over on the other side of the river. I'm going to watch that Stonebridge flag. It may turn. But for whatever reason, the Americans are really doing a good job. Alright, the Stonebridge flag has turned finally. And it's already on the receiving end of a counterattack from American infantry. Now this is probably going to be the dynamic for the rest of the round here. The Americans are going to hold at least one of those city flags in the middle, and the Germans will probably be able to hold on to the Stonebridge flag for a while. Maybe the church, I don't know. But there's going to be a lot of infantry action. The Americans shouldn't be able to get any more tanks as long as the Germans hold that church flag, unless they somehow go in for a good steal. But the Germans may continue to keep bringing up their armor from the main base, but otherwise it should be mostly infantry action, with the Germans holding the only tanks. I'm noticing on the radar there's a red plane icon. Somehow a German must have snuck into their air base and stolen that plane. Okay, he's bailed out now, but the Germans don't have planes on this map, only the Americans do. So he must have snuck into the enemy main base and stolen that plane. If you're an infantry and you're going over to this main bridge flag, It's always a good idea to at least check out this main building here with the stairs. There's very frequently defenders in here. And even if there aren't any defenders in here, it's an excellent place for you to hide if you're trying to hold the flag neutral. There's also a couple buildings on this other city flag that you can go into, but people don't go inside those quite as often. The Germans have recovered pretty nicely here, and we hold everything except for the church flag. So that's everything except for the most important flag, but just getting 3 flags like that and having a foothold is a really nice thing. And the other point to make on that is that this is a 4-flag map, and 3 out of 4 makes ticket lead. I think that was the first time on this round that the Americans were actually bleeding tickets. It's pretty difficult to bleed the Americans. Usually they can hold at least 2 flags on this. The situation that you really want to get the Americans to on this is to have it where they hold none of the flags, so they have to spawn in at the parachute point. And if they do, you can just chew them up as they land with their parachutes. And if that happens, you'll usually have a whole group of Axis tanks just circling around the church, killing people as they parachute in. Although the Americans don't seem to have any tanks at the moment, and as long as we keep this flag neutral or German, they won't. I'm not seeing too much of a tank presence from the German side. This may be due to the fact that as a round continues, pretty much on any map, people become less and less inclined to spawn all the way back at the main base and bring up those tanks. They really just want to get right back into the action, and so they'll spawn at a flag as opposed to the main. A lot of Americans are parachuting in at the moment. If I were them, I would probably spawn in at the other flag that they have, the Stone Bridge, simply because they don't have to risk getting killed as they parachute in. They're very vulnerable when they do. But you don't want to get too overconfident if you see troops parachuting in, because they are fully armed, meaning they can fire their machine gun, which is probably going to miss because they're moving around in the air. But what they can use and will use are their grenades. They can throw their grenades down and get some pretty decent accuracy with them too. So if you think that you can run right underneath an infantry as he's parachuting down, watch out for the grenades, because he's probably going to drop them right on your head. The Americans are going to have real trouble now, because we've held the German flag long enough and eliminated the Allied tanks so that we can get those tanks as they spawn in. I suspect they're probably going to start spawning in a lot more at the Stone Bridge flag as opposed to parachuting in, because they're going to get hassled by people. But the radar actually shows that the church flag has gone neutral, so I guess the German defenders all left to attack other flags and gave the Americans a really good opportunity over there. Fortunately, the American planes haven't been overly accurate. They were at least dropping bombs, and it looks like they are concentrating on killing our tanks. But if the American planes are really accurate, and they're so good that they can kill an enemy tank in one bomb, just one really good direct hit will do it. In that case, they can really make things difficult for the Axis just by knocking out the tanks. You'll notice that there aren't many anti-aircraft guns. That's because there are none on this side of the river. And for one scanning this under the bridge hiding point, this is a great place to keep the stone bridge neutral, by the way. A little bit of friendly fire from the tank on the other side there. Stay tuned for part 3.